What's up? What's up?
What's going on, kids?
What's happening?
I don't know. Just
Happy Sunday night.
Just another Sunday to get prepared for the next Monday.
Just another manic Monday.
Yep. Liking this mango background in the back. So, it reminds me of the color of fence boards, or maybe I've just been staring at fence boards for the last 2 days. And I can't.
I think that's the case.
My brain. Yep. I tell you what, I think if I started putting up fence, and if I did it for 3 months, I could probably get in the next cliffhanger movie, right? Just like load up guns.
So were you doing this fence the manual way, or did you rent a power auger?
No, I post hole digged it, man.
Oh,
yeah. That's
a shoulder workout right there.
It's a shoulder workout, but also all the way down your back. You know what I mean? Like way down low, and the bags of concrete and all that. Yeah, it was a job.
Well, it can't be too far down. You live in Louisiana, so what? 2 shovels deep and you hit water, right?
So, have y'all ever heard the term gumbo mud?
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? No, Mike, you haven't heard?
No.
Like, people, you should know this. You're in Florida,
right?
Yeah,
no, they just have sand down there.
Yeah, I was in New York, and then rocks and gravel, and then I moved down here, and it's the beach sand.
Gumbo mud is when you have your post hole digger and you're digging, and then you pull up like a whole bunch of mud with your post hole digger, but it's like literally so sticky that it won't come out of the post hole digger. So you're just like tapping it on concrete trying to get it to come out.
No way.
Yeah,
it's kind of like concrete in the ground, but it's water soluble, so it softens up.
What do you do? You put that in a tomato garden? Let the tomatoes grow?
Probably. I don't know.
Woo.
Yep. I fought some of that.
Gumbo mud.
Who's
doing the introductions today?
Oh, Mike, you do it.
Oh, man. All right, everybody.
Asking
this
you
is the grapevine. Right? Below us is Chris Hughes. And to my left or right, that's Eric Kaiser.
What's up,
and I'm Mike Cianfrocco. We are the grapevine.
All right. So we've got some guests tonight coming on, and we're going to talk about #BetterHVAC.
Ooh.
You guys ready for this? Let's get it on. Let's bring on we actually have 2 guests tonight to talk about this.
Two guests.
Double the fun.
Double trouble. We've got Bill Spohn.
He's been holding that up for 5 minutes.
Was not what I was expecting.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for
Bill,
inviting me on. Good, real good.
The Better HVAC mascot.
Yeah.
We've also got Mr. Ben Reed tonight.
Woo, Mr. Reed.
My mascot walked off. I think he needed to get some water.
Yeah.
He went to Bill's house.
Don't bring him out around the gumbo mud, bro. You know, you would never be able to get that dog clean.
He already takes like 4 towels to be able to clean him off after his bath. It's crazy.
Wait a minute. Something just showed up in the chat here.
Uh-oh.
What? What's up with this?
Yeah, I did I'm into genealogy and ancestry and stuff, and I came up with a distant cousin match to someone named Monzo.
No way.
Yeah. And
That's
Jennifer's doing the test, getting her DNA checked, and then we're gonna see if it corresponds.
That is cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It'd be pretty wild. I mean, she is of like similar Sicilian background as I am, so I mean the parallels are there.
That's cool.
Just wait till the next wedding, man. It's gonna be wild.
Yeah.
So
Here comes
suddenly
the Manzos.
the family just got a lot bigger.
Yeah.
That is
HVAC
cool.
dynasty there.
Right?
All right. So I see, Ben, you've got the hashtag Better HVAC shirt on. Kick us off, man. I think we need to start with, where does this start? Like, where does this initially kick off?
Better HVAC, the hashtag originally started like 3-4 years ago, back at Haven, where we were just throwing around ideas of, how to, or actually this was at the time where I was of the opinion, like 3-4 years ago, I was first of the opinion that HVAC professionals knew how to solve IAQ problems. So that was my first sort of naive kind of entrance, because I'm not from HVAC. That's not my world. Telecommunications engineering is where I came from. But trying, for years with Haven to try to convince the mainstream market to be able to buy the Haven IAQ product and to be able to use it to install in the homes of their customers, or even just to follow best IAQ practices, I was blown away that was not a standard practice. And then the deeper I got into it, I was just like, the problem isn't that they don't understand IAQ. The problem is that most of them don't actually understand HVAC. There's so many of the mainstream HVAC professionals that are out there don't really understand a lot of the principles at the level of, let's say, the people on the show, or a lot of the people that listen to the show. And so that then is what holds them back from being able to solve IAQ problems. So that's really what got us kind of realizing that, we need to be working with all of the people that know how to do these better practices. So we started working with Jim. We started putting some content together. We did a couple of live streams with Measure Quick, and then that's when we first started using the Better HVAC hashtag. And we just kind of threw it around as a hashtag for a couple of years. But in the last 2 years, we started thinking about, like, could this be bigger? Should this be an organization? That was kind of the question that came up over and over again. Should we launch this as an association or a nonprofit that is really meant to try to do what a lot of those other industry associations out there seem to not be getting right? Because if they were solving those problems, then we wouldn't have the state of the market that we have right now.
Right.
So that was the assumption, that it's like, okay, maybe it's just as easy as starting a new association. So that's when we brought in Bill about 6 months ago to be like, hey, is this something that we should do? Should we be, launching this in an association? And Bill was like, maybe, yeah, let's talk about it. Let's put a little bit more energy and effort into it. And the discussion of whether or not it should be an industry association or a nonprofit is still outstanding, because there are still so many pieces that are out there that I think it's not really clear that an association is going to be the thing that solves the problem. But we have a lot of people that are kind of coming into our website now, that are listening to our content, that are interested in they're curious about the concept of Better HVAC. They want to know more. And so we have been trying to refine it through these interactions with these new audience members, with other leaders of the industry, to be like, what should this become? And it's still not exactly clear of the one thing that we should be solving, but we have narrowed it down to a pretty concise list of problems that we think that we can work on that will make an impact in the industry.
Yeah, something needs to be done. That's for sure. There's like a real contrast out there. You know what I mean?
And that's pretty ambiguous, though. I didn't really say much in the last 2 minutes of ramble. So, Bill,
like Jason,
on purpose.
Jason Johnson. Thanks, Ben, and thank you all for inviting me here. Jason Johnson just published a note here. There's so much information. There's no excuse not to be informed. Thank you for bringing that up. The problem is not everyone knows what's out there, where it is. There's really good practices. There's really great resources, and there's really great people doing what a lot of what we think embodies better HVAC. And I like, when I converse about it, I like boiling it down to 3 principles: promise to learn continuously, do ethically, and share openly. And I've seen that coming up in the last 5 years. so many times, so many places. Everybody on this screen that I'm looking at here, and probably a large number of you that are listening in and watching the live stream, we just got to get it together, share those best practices. I also like to think that we have the solutions are all present amongst the collective people that engage with Better HVAC. They just need to share them. It's just a crazy idea, and just hopefully it's not crazy.
No, it's not crazy. It's just like you said, there's a lot of information out there. It just kind of needs to be condensed or brought somewhere where somebody could find it, you know? It's a lot.
So what kind of Ben mentioned that this is still yet to be determined. Do you have like a timeline for figuring out kind of what this is going to distill down to? Because it sounds like you're kind of, I guess, throwing things against the wall right now to see what sticks. Would that be kind of an accurate description? Or maybe you've narrowed down some things to throw against the wall?
Ben's more strategic than that. Go ahead, Ben.
Strategic, but very much overextended. So we went through many kind of pieces at the beginning of this of writing up, like, here's the almost similar to, like, if we were to launch a nonprofit, like, let's put together the equivalent of a business plan. Let's put together the equivalent of, like, what are the articles of, like, incorporation? What would it look like to have a membership? We did a lot of that planning, but we didn't want to jump the gun before we did a little bit more of the market testing. And so we went through a process of, on our website, we set up a declaration that has the values that we believe that anyone who practices Better HVAC or believes in the vision of a future built through Better HVAC would resonate with, and then they would sign themselves up for a pledge. And in the process of signing up for a pledge, they provide a little bit of information, about the part of the industry that they're working for and the types of actions that they want to take, as well as what Better HVAC means to them. We got about over 150 so far people that have signed up for it. And from there, we asked them to do an onboarding survey. And in that onboarding survey, we put forward a very long list of, hypotheses of what we believe that Better HVAC should stand for. And so we collected all those answers from the survey. We did an analysis. We kind of broke down it into a kind of a summarized report, and then did a couple of sessions with our champions. So anybody who signs the Better HVAC pledge is a Better HVAC champion. And then put together that report, had a couple of live sessions with our champions to kind of really discuss those results and to dive deeper into what these people who have spent all that extra time to go through the survey, to go through the pledge, to really figure out, the voice of the people, what they believe that it should be. And there was some really interesting findings that were both kind of in line with what we thought were our strongest hypotheses of what Better HVAC the problems that Better HVAC should be tackling. And then also some interesting, new realizations of what people were interested in.
Interesting.
Again, I'm staying ambiguous. I could go into detail, though. I have a slide deck if you want to see it. I got reports. I got graphs. I got everything.
Well, I mean, we've got, I think we got plenty of time here. So if I would say go into as much detail as you want to at this point, as you want to share, because that's what we wanted to talk to you guys about. This thing is kind of out there. We wanted to learn more about it and let others learn about it that maybe aren't involved already, and kind of show the world a little bit more about what this is.
Well,
go ahead, Bill. Sorry.
I was going to say the trade show season of February, March, and April is really slowed down our efforts for Kevin, Ben, and myself. Kevin Hart is also Kevin, the Canadian, not the comedian. Hart is also one of the schemers and plotters and planners here. And we did have a small group of other individuals across the industry But it's right now it's about, we're, like Ben said, resource limited. I think we need to, perhaps be better delegators of tasks to move this forward. You had a question, Mike?
Chris, right?
Chris.
You were saying something?
Yeah. So I was reading a comment about the contractor list. Jennifer said the contractor list is my favorite part by far. Any homeowner will be able to find a contractor that practices better HVAC, and that could fix a lot. Well, I agree with her statement. My question would be, I didn't know there was a contractor list that applied right now. But if there is a contractor list, how do we vet the contractor list out to make sure, and you know where I'm going with this, how do we make sure that every contractor is not a quote unquote better HVAC contractor tomorrow?
Oh man. And that's why we don't have a contractor list yet, is because, well, two things. One is that doing it correctly so that the system can't be gamed, and so that let's say we're not opening it up to people that can just it's not about being able to pay to play, but like, how do you actually create a list that has the attributes and the weightings that are able to truly get to that better HVAC value set? Like, we went through a lot of discussions in those live stream sessions, and also in other conversations, Bill, myself, and Kevin, about that qualification. And, should we be giving them aptitude tests as a part of this? Like, should you actually have to answer certain business questions and then also answer certain technical questions before your business could be listed on that better HVAC contractor list? Because some of this is both, Bill has had that idea for a similar idea for many years. And then Corbett Lunsford has his own little kind of Google sheet.
Installers who use science. So there's a page out there, and it's sort of self-maintained. Like Corbett's like, you just got to say you're going to do this, and it's going to be self-maintained. It's very difficult. It's either no controls or probably a lot of control.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, because and to like what Ben was saying there, I could see where even if you ask somebody a lot of technical questions that they can answer properly, does that guarantee that they're even going to follow through on with the actions behind that?
Yeah.
And if you put a lot of requirements into it, someone has to vet the requirements. And right now there's no funding, there's no staff. It's just volunteer effort.
Yeah.
And so, like, I created pretty much something that was 90% of an intake form that had a huge question list. It had some skill testing questions on it, and if you would have answered that, it would go into a review sort of section of the website, which then we'd be able to assign myself, Bill, or Kevin to give it a review, and then we just press a button, and then they would show up on the map. And then you can start filtering, for those contractors. But so, like I said, there's two things that kind of made this pause. Is one is that sort of like, what are the actual questions that should be asked? And it still hasn't been solved, even though I've asked that question both in the survey, in our live stream sessions, and I've asked it in multiple Facebook groups to try to be like, what should this encompass? Probably we're not asking enough to homeowners. Is one thing that we haven't done enough of. But I also believe that one of the ways to do this right would be through data. And so some sort of an API driven methodology where there isn't as much sort of self-reporting, and you actually have results of that person's work. So, like with MeasureQuick, if there was a way to be able to, pull in the MeasureQuick reports that would prove that, okay, this person, they use smart tools. So like, that they're actually using all of the information all at once to be able to solve these problems. We also have proof that they have done this many installations and this many service calls where, like, in the installation, their own installation, they got an 80+% on their vital score, or on their service call, they benchmarked it. And then after they left, this was the net sort of improvement upon that work that they did. And so if you were to do it, based upon, because really the results are on the technical side, that's what should matter. And so that's what we've hypothesized, that maybe that could be a method to do this. But again, that's a lot of resources to be able to try to, pull in that data and to have that consistently updating. You'd have to allocate those resources for not just kind of getting it integrated, but also the maintenance to keep it running.
That's really neat. I mean, that would cut out a lot of technicians or companies that don't use a lot of the tools that need to be done to assess what is like right there, Measure Quick running a full report. I mean, that'll cut out most of the hackery.
Love Measure Quick here, but that presents a problem because then it becomes the Measure Quick Club.
Yeah. What I was just going to ask about. I mean, the other, and I'm just going to throw something out there because it's made me think about you mentioned homeowners, Ben. Like, what if it was feedback from homeowners saying that these contractors are expected to do X, Y, and Z when they come into your home? If you get them off of this, we want your feedback to make sure they did X, Y, and Z. And if they don't, then, you get that feedback from the homeowner that got to them through the website.
Yeah. I tell you, Corbett's people that I get information from, they ask me questions. Those are the smartest homeowners I've ever talked to. So like, if you've got like some good people searching, they'll know what to look for in a contractor, kind of like what you're saying.
Yeah, but that overlap between like Corbett's audience and then like the rest of the market that needs better HVAC, like the homeowners that need better HVAC solutions, like
I agree with you. A lot of people need better HVAC now. You can't educate the whole market. You're right.
And like if Corbett's working with these people, Corbett's already feeding them a huge amount of information of like, here's
right.
Like, this is what you should be asking for. Like,
yeah.
So that's kind of being taken care of. And I don't want to kind of just jump into Corbett's world and try to like, push a better HVAC thing on it.
No, I wasn't saying that.
I know you weren't saying that, but like, that's what, like, that's why I haven't jumped over there, because I'm like, that could happen. So
yeah,
I'm like,
how
do
send
you
me a
still do
message
this mass
later?
market?
He won't be happy.
Yeah. But the second reason why I haven't really jumped on this is because I have started to see dozens of contractor lists starting to pop up.
Oh, really?
So states are doing them all over the place. Like the state energy associations, like what's happening with the IRA is like it's spooling up a huge amount of like, not just like, hey, now homeowners want heat pumps, but there is activity absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
And it's cool, but it also is kind of it causes me to step back a little bit and be like, okay, so there are now hundreds of other people trying to solve this problem. How many of them, like a lot of them, especially because there's a lot of startups that are doing this, that they want to have their own kind of curated list that's within their own walled garden. They're not super interested in, collaborating. They want to be like, hey, come on our platform, homeowner. And then we have this big list of contractors and we're not going to share it. So a lot of them are doing that. The states run lists, like California has like a really big one. And there's a few other states out there. I know New York has a big one as well. They're starting to spool up and gain a lot of momentum. But each one of them will have their own, I guess, vetting process. They'll have their own like requirements and their own priorities of what they're trying to score those contractors for.
Let's just spitball here. If you're on a recognized vetted list, you've been vetted.
Ooh,
you got to subscribe to Building HVAC Science podcast first. I mean, that would be at least a prerequisite.
Yeah.
Sorry,
we like that idea.
Subscribe to that. You got to go.
But that's the other thing too, is that it's so, because like if the goal is to try to get outcomes versus like this balancing of friction, like of actually purposefully introduced friction versus trying to make things accessible, it's a very difficult balance. And then like I think the challenge is that we haven't figured out where we want to land on that scale. because there are a lot of people that are just like, oh, it would just be great if you just make it super accessible. So as long as they just check these boxes and say that I've done X, Y, Z, then they can be on the list. Like as long as if they're on the state list where they just basically filled at a couple check boxes and now they're being promoted because the state just wants to bolster their numbers. Great. Like that's great for numbers, but to actually to have those verified outcomes, that's one of the problems of the market is that there's too many opportunities to just checkbox your way to seem like a trusted entity. And that's why I think that's one of the biggest problems in the market right now is that there isn't enough ways to confirm that person has done their work properly. And like it doesn't have to be measure quick. There has to be a lot of different ways in the market to help solve that problem, because whether it's design all the way through to commissioning, there's data missing everywhere. There's all these people that they say they do things. The organizations, let's say the municipalities, the building inspectors, the raters, everybody's so under-resourced. Everybody is so under-incentivized to be able to challenge whether somebody's doing good work. And I think that's the problem to me. That's a bigger thing to try to solve instead of making just another checkbox exercise. And I know it's not a problem that I'm going to solve it myself, or it's going to be solved anytime soon. I'm just saying that to me, that's more interesting. That's more important to tackle because not enough people are talking about it. Like I'm still blown away at the amount of like heat pump training where like I just was in one a couple of days ago for British Columbia, which is like they're one of the most progressive provinces in Canada and one of the most progressive like kind of regions in all of North America for pushing heat pumps to having like really high level building codes, but they still don't have any kind of mechanism to verify that heat pumps are being installed properly.
That's definitely a problem. Yeah. Especially if they're what, 2 pounds low, right, Eric? I mean,
I think it gets tricky because, hear me out. If you are a contractor, you're on a list and you're trying to do good work and you want to be transparent, that's great. But what happens when you walk into some customers, and I'm guilty of this, I've did plenty of jobs that I wouldn't say I'm extremely proud of. And let's just say it's because it's not only a technical problem, it's a financial problem, and it's an emotional problem with the client. You have 3 jobs you have to handle when you walk onto that job site, and they don't always agree. Maybe it's a financial problem. Maybe it's the emotional problem. Maybe you don't get to do what you want to do, but you do what they allow you to do, which means your test out results may not jive because you don't get to go full technical because they financially can't afford it or emotionally can't handle their house being in disarray. So it's like, if you're going to be transparent with your reporting, I could see myself, if I was on a list, being like, well, I'll report this job, but I'm definitely not going to report this job. But that was not my problem. That was maybe a financial problem. That was not my financial problem, right? So I could see an issue where, people cherry pick their way to get on the list with given good jobs and bad jobs. That being said, I do have an idea. I'm just going to throw it out there where I think there's a huge industry problem. Like if we're going to turn over a stone, this is where I think the industry needs help. I myself have witnessed this, and I would not call myself a trainer. Okay. But I have made the rounds on a couple classes with David Richardson, and we went and did a class not too far from here. We were promised 30 seats. We were promised what we needed to showcase our presentation and all that. And when we got there, there was barely 15 seats and 28 people showed up. We had people with a doorway watching through the doorway, sitting there, the doorway on the right. We had people sitting outside the doorway watching the class. We were at the point we were about to put people on the floor. You're not going to learn that well sitting on a floor, and you're not going to learn that well sitting through the doorway. What I'm getting at is there is a industry that's saying, I want training, I want training, I want training. And then you've got manufacturers who are saying, hey, we'll contribute. We'll get the equipment there. We'll get the equipment there. The disconnect is the training facility. And if we want to start a list, I think we should start a list of training facilities, very much like ESCO does at the education level. Like if you're a facility, you're going to train people who go through the full 2-year course, right? Curriculum, right? There's a ESCO certified lab get on board document, right? Like this, your lab has to meet these specs. Why are we not doing the same thing for 1-day trainings for companies like NCI or anybody else, right? Why is there not a list for that says, do you have 30 seats? And that list could be audited by the people who go train there. It could be like, hey, I'm going to report that this facility promised me 30 seats, a projector and a screen and a lab unit. And guess what? I didn't get a lab unit and I got 15 seats. Take them off the list. That list should exist. That's what I'm saying.
You got to bring your own projector, bro.
I'm just saying, it's like
you never trust the house.
Disconnect in the training, and nobody's holding. I don't know who you hold accountable. I think you hold accountable to the people who want to bring it in, but don't support the arena to make it happen properly.
And I think that to hold those types of people or those venues accountable, that's really where that collective action, if you have that type of platform, if there's a list that you had like 300 people who actually checked into that location, that are able to say that, yep, this was the state of it. And then to have some sort of a, positive feedback loop that helps that if that organization has a problem in meeting that goal to do X, Y, Z, then they can
be a little bit more specific. I'm not quite getting this. Apologies for the interruption. It just seems like we're way off track. Chris has got a gripe about something that happened to him and David Richardson at a facility. So it was a distributor that didn't own up to preparing the place the way they should have. Is that what happened?
Correct. Right.
Okay.
A distributor that could have promised so many seats, right? And from what I understand, this is kind of common. There's people in chat who are saying this is this is popular, but it's like we need a list that says this facility, if they want to bring in top talent, let's say they want to bring in Alex Meany, they want to bring in Eric Kaiser, they want to bring in somebody with talent to do a training, and that training is going to be a 4-hour training or an 8-hour training, and they need to tell us about their facility, and their facility needs to meet those requirements. If you're going to offer it and it's not going to be like that, then they get nixed off the list.
Okay.
There isn't a list.
I thought Billy was trying to say that, they're selling out the whole arena,
Chris is recommending that Better HVAC could help make that list happen.
Yes. That's what I'm suggesting.
Yeah, like because ESCO has a more like a formalized version for the more formal trade and vocational training, but for all of those other, like you said, 1-day trainings, for the workshops.
Okay, there's an organization that ESCO supports, training school, whatever, university program that has funding and a budget to do what they do. ESCO has funding and a budget to do what they do, vetting it, and has built up some standards for which they comply with.
All right.
A distributor puts these things together with good intentions and probably not much of a budget.
Yeah.
Fair.
Right.
But I get that. But they are telling you how many seats they will have. I mean, we're talking granular here, right?
Well, and I think that might be like, I'm hoping that that's kind of a one-off for you that happened. But
I've heard it a lot.
I think it would be cool to have, and I can see from a technical aspect of like a list of training centers in different areas and what they offer, so people could find them faster and easier. Might be an interesting thing to consider.
Then those courses would have to be vetted. The instructors have to be vetted. The locations have to be vetted. The equipment has to be vetted.
Yeah.
Are we moving closer to the goal for better HVAC? I know it's part of it, but I think
Bill,
it's more about it's people, practices, and resources, and the impact on consumers. That's what we're trying to change. And this is why we haven't made much progress.
Yeah, because each one of these ends up being like almost a business model or a volunteer organization all to its own. Like there's so many potential avenues that we could go down, and there is such a split between what everybody is really interested in. And so what we might, like in the near future, what we might be focusing more on
World hunger, maybe
is no, just like little guides,
little simpler
guides and lists that are a little bit like the low hanging fruit of things that people are not that questions, the frequently asked questions around the web where, let's say, HVAC school hasn't already covered it, that we could kind of put together. And on top of that, a couple of interesting guides that like out of one of our sessions out of the survey that we did, and also the kind of those drop-in sessions that we did, there was an interesting there's two interesting opportunities, especially in the session that Clifton was in that we talked about. One of them has to do with trade school engagement. Is that so many HVAC contractors, HVAC professionals are not aware that within their area there are these trade school committees that kind of that guide the curriculum. And because there aren't enough HVAC practitioners that actually understand what needs to be done in that local market, like their interests are never represented in the trade schools. Clifton said that happens all the time, where there's such an imbalance on those committees that basically they prioritize, like this is before it even gets to the instructors who are in the class that are teaching the classes. It's kind of on the administrative level. They're deciding what does the local industry want, and there isn't enough representation from local professionals. And so we're just like, okay, maybe we could work with Clifton and some others to put together a guide that actually provides people the instructions on saying that this is exactly how you can find your local kind of this committee. This is the things that you say. These are maybe some of the ways that you'd bring up topics. This is how you would conduct yourself to be as I guess effective as possible within those committees, because that could have a fairly large downstream effect, and is if we were to put together a guide that was clear enough that gets shared around, then that could have a fairly large impact with a low investment of time, resources, and no real maintenance to that, aside from like trying to collect some success stories of, how well that went.
Right. And like a good online presence. Yeah. Because you guys are really drumming it up. I see it everywhere. So, I mean, you guys are doing a good job on that front. Even posting this on LinkedIn and doing it on Facebook. I was like, I can't forget the hashtag, So
well, there's a danger to that too, though, is because the hashtag isn't owned by, you can't own a hashtag. And so it's difficult to just, I guess, to predict what's going to come out, because you have a mix of like, let's say people that are very excited about a product, and they are adding the hashtag to promote the product and saying that this product, this product is going to help me achieve better HVAC. And, that theoretically that could be possible, but if there isn't that validation, that verification, that that product being deployed actually solves those problems as designed or as was marketed, then should we be policing that? Like if people are trying to do product promotion that are using better HVAC, or if the hashtag better HVAC, instead of kind of being more about this altruistic sort of, trying to reshape the market a little bit, it's just a whole bunch of people complaining about being like, the guy before me
could go
did
that
X, Y,
way.
Z. Yeah. So it's awesome that
look at this horrible install, better HVAC. Right. Okay.
Yeah. It's
so
awesome
go
that
into a
it's
negative
open.
area. Yeah.
Yeah, and so there has to be, to make a hashtag initiative like that successful, you have to have a continuous amount of effort put into trying to make sure that there is enough content out there that represents what the mission and vision is supposed to be.
Yeah, I hear. I mean, I hear it a lot from Kevin Hart. I hear it from a lot of home performance guys. It's just they're taken back on what's out there, and everybody wants to see the industry do better, right? So we understand that on the grapevine. You know, that's why we have a small Facebook group, and we try to stay small so it doesn't go crazy, like, you know, like go into a negative light. So it's I feel for you. It's a big subject.
Well, either we do nothing perfectly or a few things imperfectly.
Yeah.
And I think the emphasis is on the verb do. Let's just do something.
Yeah, because you can stall out just thinking about it. Just
Right.
get out there.
And there's going to be a way around every single flipping thing you want to put out there to vet and to say this is validated without living with that customer, that contractor, that distributor, whatever. You just have to have trust. You just have to
pray for the best.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
Ben,
mean, there's a lot of different ways to go at this, and it sounds like you guys have really put a lot of thought into this already to get where you're at, especially from people that are clearly working full-time jobs otherwise, and probably full-time plus, if I had to guess, for all of you. How much time do you estimate you've put into this already, just to get to this point?
Oh, definitely
Depends put in
weeks.
hundreds of
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a back before Christmas, I ended up having a little bit more of a flexible schedule. And leading up to the symposium, especially, I both put in a lot of the, like, on the administrative, the trying to, like, you know, define what everything should be at a high level, and then putting in a lot of effort into the infrastructure for the website and, you know, for some of the content and for the presentation that I gave at the symposium. So a lot of effort, a lot of weeks of work there. And then I had a couple projects catch up to me, you know, in this trade school season. But I'm really interested now that I am getting a little bit more of my time back, that in the coming weeks, I'm going to be putting a lot more effort into this.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very nice.
But we do like, there's a couple of, aside from just the people signing up, like there's on the betterhvac.org/champions, there is the map of, you know, everybody. As soon as you sign up, you get to be put right on the map, kind of to be able to see, you know, who in your area are performing at Better HVAC. So already some interesting data to be able to kind of show the hotspot areas of people that have been attracted to this. Of people that kind of are really aligned with this. It's not really a true representation of saying that, oh, this is going to be exactly who Better HVAC is, but it's more or less the, you know, these are the early adopters that are aligned. There's some pretty good names in there. A lot of people from both that are HVAC practitioners. We're over 50% of people who are, let's say, owners or technicians that are in that list. But there also is a large portion of people who are just supporters of, like, they're part of trade organizations, or they're manufacturers, even a bunch of homeowners that have signed the pledge that are really interested in this. So yeah, it's such an interesting mix of people, but still over half are residential practitioners who are doing the work.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Ben, will this include building science as well as HVAC? Just to try to, like, let's say we have people who do HVAC and beyond, right? Like the Better HVAC. Does that include looking at things from a? I'm just asking because I'm just wondering.
He's asking for a friend.
And this is a very good question. This is
I'm
a very
asking-
good question.
Is this because, like, are you trying to make it more all inclusive to where the building science folks, let's just say you have a person who does
Like
whether
duct
they
leakage
show-
and blower door?
well, you could say duct leakage, blower door, does not know refrigeration, does not know
Right.
low voltage controls, but knows air sealing and insulation. Is Better HVAC a place for that person, or is that like a place that, or should there be a place where it's like, okay, Better HVAC is Better HVAC, it's for HVAC professionals, or should that
That is a good question.
Is that world, should that be included in Better HVAC?
I don't think, to me, Better HVAC was never about it being for HVAC professionals. To me, Better HVAC is about attracting the people that want to see those better outcomes, that are going to be putting in effort to create those outcomes, and that have a regular interaction with HVAC systems. And not just HVAC systems, but the kind of the way that the indoor environment is being curated. To me, building science is something that HVAC people that are touching, that are working on HVAC systems, they should be incorporating that into a lot of their work. They should have those principles as a foundation.
The envelope is the biggest piece of ductwork on the house, right?
I did a podcast with Edward Louis a couple of months ago, and the quote that it always sticks with me is that, HVAC professionals are a bunch of whiny babies because they all have this, like, they have shirked the responsibility of dealing with the envelope, of dealing with the ductwork. So many of them are just focused on the HVAC equipment, and they're not actually dealing with all these other components that are so important for them to get right. They're just kind of focused on the equipment. One of my theories, as I've been talking to more people in the last couple of months, like, it's very clear that manufacturers of equipment have such an outsized impact on what HVAC professionals are supposed to think about. Like, if you actually think about it, it's like people are being told to worry about refrigerant. People are being told to, worry about, heat pumps. They're not like there isn't enough of these other, there's an imbalance for the attention that is available in the market. And so, to me, Better HVAC is to create a much more balanced approach where that building science, home performance, they're not these different factions that are out here that are trying to, that they have to, catch all of this crap work that's coming in from the mainstream. It's that there should be a shift in what an HVAC professional believes their work is. And it is a combination of a lot of different components that are needed to make that happen. But to me, that would be, if somebody were to ask me, what would success look like for Better HVAC? It would be that home performance, building science are integrated into the HVAC profession without it being kind of, seen as these other professions that need separate training.
So it would be a technician that doesn't see building performance as a separate division.
Exactly.
Like, oh, he's an HVAC guy, or he understands building science principles as just his left arm and his right arm. It's just a part of the body.
10 years from now, it's just it's not even a question.
Yeah, it's not even. Yeah, that's a dumb question on a podcast 10 years from now. I like that. Hey, we can pray for the best, right? Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say,
going back to something Ben said at the very outset, it's understanding the principles of Better HVAC.
Yeah.
So the first effort might be towards stating those principles succinctly. And I think some of them are, well, I just heard one thing here: Better HVAC is more than the box. And that comes from what Brian's talking about too, Brian Feeney in the comments. So thank you, Brian, for that. Corbett on his list, which is part of the inspiration that this came from, like somebody else thinks this way too, this big nebulous different way. What Ben referred to before was something I had from 2018, which is the responsible contractor network. a contractor you could trust to send a relative to, like Mike, one of your relatives up in Rome, New York, somebody you could go there and you could trust to send them to without having to worry about it. There you go.
Good old Archie.
Gee.
Yeah, I mean, you want somebody you could send family to. Like, yeah, it's just.
That's what I center around.
I like
and,
that.
And Ben centers around something different. Kevin probably something different. Maybe everybody something different. But it's all these differences. We need to come up with some kind of composite, granola that works together with all the different ingredients, and we can call it. We want to call it one thing, but it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can't get over like that's what you were saying earlier, Ben, about the gentleman who was saying that technicians are whiny babies, and I just want to get this out of my brain, dude, or else I just won't sleep tonight. If you haven't spent time in the trade, you can't make that comment.
Oh, hey, got a point there.
Because the trade ain't easy, and we could easily scold people to say you're a whiny baby because you don't do this. I would challenge anybody who makes that comment to go ride in a service truck and be a frontline worker in the field and see how many tasks someone has to do, especially nowadays, because it's not like it used to be. Now everything's, you got a tablet, you got to enter everything in a tablet. You're not only the technician, you're the billing department on the job. And it used to be,
everything.
You have a lot of responsibility when you're out there. So to take that leap from, say, HVAC technician, get it up and working, do the maintenance, make the repair, be the billing department. Oh, wait a minute. You've got a house structure that looks like it could use air sealing. To leap into that conversation takes big huevos. Big one. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. And to have the confidence to say, hey, I think there's something else here besides the box, this HVAC box.
It
took me a while to be confident in that.
Yeah, it takes I feel like what it takes is for somebody to take that jump, they have to feel a technician doesn't want to. First off, they don't like to sell. Everybody knows that. But if they're going to make that leap, their confidence level in that topic has to be superb, right? Like way, way high. That way they feel confident about making that suggestion. Because the last thing they want to do is put their toe in the water, maybe sell some of the work. Then the work gets done and it turns into a science project and it falls apart in their face, and then they'll never want to do it again.
Well, that's why I think these local HVAC companies should get a hold of guys that do like blower door stuff like I do and duct testing and have flow hoods. Just have some guy that you could trust.
House leakage.
House leakage?
House leakage testing. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. And I'm going to throw this out there right now.
Let's ban the word blower door.
Blower door is a great name for a tool.
I hate it.
But on our group, the HVAC Grapevine on Facebook, we have a joining question. And then one of those, we have several joining questions. And one of those joining questions is, do you have a blower door? And I've been watching, we've gotten several responses lately. And one of the common responses that I'm getting is, yes, it's on my furnace.
I've seen that myself. I wanted to have this chat, but
that's what that meant.
So they're thinking door on a blower compartment, and my brain just went, "Holy cow!"
There is a big disconnect, man.
It's two different. It's the same term that means two different things.
Yeah. I myself have seen that quite a bit, and they go, it's my furnace, LOL, like, duh. And I'm kind of like, I can't blame them. I mean, they are right.
I can't either.
Bill's not going to sell blower doors anymore. He's going to sell envelope leakage testers.
Yeah. Something I heard or gathered from what I heard here is better HVAC is a journey, not a destination necessarily.
I think that's a smart way to say it. Yeah.
And that perhaps the more detailed biographies of the champions that were drawn to this and the corresponding attributes of those champions starts to coalesce around a hybrid definition of what better HVAC is.
Emergent. Yeah.
People got attracted to this without much detail at all, but they just
Yeah.
knew something was right about it. So let's let their characteristics broadcast what is right about it.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're doing this tonight.
Always learning, you know?
This turned into from a learning experience into another whole nother learning experience. And everybody gets to watch this iteration live, apparently.
It's evolving, you know. I remember back in the day I was trying to figure out how to dig deeper in this trade, and geez, at the time I was just pulling up like old YouTube videos, whatever I can get my hands on, watching Bill present in front of a bunch of people talking about airflow hoods. Remember that video you did on like everything for air testing?
It's the one Brian filmed me doing. Yes.
Was that the one? Okay, I watched that thing like twice. I was like, okay, this one, I could do this one. I can't do that one. That seems like too much. I could do this. And the information that you put out there at the time, there wasn't a lot out there. So I appreciate what you did. Because now I feel like anybody starting has all this free information out there on YouTube and groups. You know, it's like I'm almost jealous.
So Eric Kaiser and I just got an email the other day. Remember that one?
Yeah, we did.
A person who said, "I'm just starting out. What path do I take?
Yeah.
I want to get on this journey. What path do I take?"
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a tough question. Yeah, it's like,
I mean,
where?
it is a tough question because there's a
That's a
ton of
sit
different
down,
answers
man.
for it.
Yeah, it's a sit down.
Well, you know,
Maybe
I
it's
would
Mike's,
what do you
Mike's
like?
biography. Let's
What's
just put Mike's biography out there. You know, what was his path? What was his journey? Seriously. I mean, that's a start.
Man. It was a journey, dude. I mean, I was in the trade for so long, I got sick of it. I wanted to quit almost.
Yeah,
then,
I agree with you, Mike. You could get into this trade and spend probably a couple of years doing everything wrong, and that's what we.
Put it in like a quick. If I could put it in a nutshell, I think I was like 15 years in. I was just exhausted of the trade. You know, the area, the pay wasn't great in the area, and stuck doing the same thing, trying to sell boxes. You know, doing subcool. You know, it was like that was it. It just stopped. The knowledge stopped. The airflow. I had a problem with airflow. Like I didn't know what to do. People would ask me questions. I was like, I don't know what. You know, I don't have the tools. And I just started to find. Geez, it was right before the symposium, the first one. Started getting the YouTubes from Bill. I started looking up Corbett stuff. I started getting with all these people. I was watching Rarden.
Steve Rarden, yeah.
Rarden.
Yeah, I remember calling True Tech Tools to get my first Testo wireless probes and getting this guy named Bill Spohn on there. And he's like, yeah, that. I was like, Steven told me to go here. And he was like, yeah, that guy, he's spicy, that guy. But you know what? I mean, it got me down a path where it was amazing. You know, it was learning. It was a lot of learning. But because of him and that small group, and then getting with Brian Orr's group, I just got all this knowledge that nobody else was wanting to give out unless you paid. You know, you open up the checkbook. So to those group of guys, I really give my hat to you, because I was ready to quit. So I wouldn't have been here if it wasn't for Rarden. Yeah, the grapevine. This guy jumped, grabbed me back. I was like, I'd be selling beds.
So that's why we need what you were saying earlier about like trying to have HVAC contractors work with people like yourself who have those like kind of specialized tools. It's the guides. I think that really right now, low-hanging fruit for better HVAC is to have people like everybody on this show to volunteer to put together a guide, not saying here's how to fix this technical thing, here's how to do this technical HVAC thing, but more or less here's a strategic guide on how to navigate this piece to get to where you need to go faster.
Yeah.
So like writing a piece of saying that, hey, here is actually how to identify in your local market the people that you could work with. This is why you'd want to work with them. And so I've got a list of about 4 or 5 other guides. Another one is based around like, if you want to be the guy that's on the news for your local community. You want to be the person that can actually stand on camera when the news organizations need an HVAC or home performance person to talk to. Let's create a guide on how to get on the news. Here's a little bit of media training for you guys. So that's really the next piece of action that Better HVAC wants to take, is to be able to write these out, where it's filling in all those holes that are not being filled by the industry, because so many people are filling the technical holes. There's not enough people filling the strategic holes.
Did you see the comment by Jason there?
So kind of getting
We got Jason Julian in there.
Yeah, Jason Julian up here is
Jason's a trip.
Says guided workflow for the pathway, and that's immediately what my head went to. Is like a lot of people will go out and learn all this stuff. Like Mike went out and learned all this stuff, but if you've got a business, you're already busy running that business. How do you start? What are the steps you take to start putting that in your business?
Word.
It's true, yeah. Because when I started buying all those tools, I was sweating. It's 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 a scary moment, but I mean, now I have the tools, and I know how to implement them, and
that's what you got the fan for, right? Was to cool you down.
Yeah, that big fan. But Bill, man, I appreciate everything you've done over the years, man. So I mean, if you ever need help with any of this stuff, you've done so much. I feel for me. I mean, I'm willing to give back.
In interviewing a few people to find out their journeys, the people that were attracted to signing up.
I think you got a new volunteer over there. I'm trying to poke Mike in the ear, but I can't. Everybody poke Mike.
Yeah, I appreciate, man, everything you've done for the trade, man. So, I mean, if I can give back, what do they say? Like, pay it forward?
Yeah.
It's help some of the new kids, guide them through, because it's almost like, dude, HVAC is so big. It does need, like, you need guidance, and like, if somebody asked me that question, what do I do? I take a deep breath. I'd be like, well, what do you like? Run!
Run in beds. Here's what I'm going to say. Run into it headlong, take a dive, and have fun.
Yeah. But I